Hey, read through the word. Today is February 7th, and today's lesson is called People with a Purpose. So, we are here in Exodus. We have just been given the 10 Commandments, and then we launch into some things that people use to talk about our God and His Word in a demeaning manner. And so I really want to discuss that, and I will hit this again hard when we get to the book of Leviticus. So I want us to pay attention to look at some things, and somebody's going to ask me later what my shirt says. So it is 1 John 4:19. We love because He first loved us. So if you're new here to read through the Word this year, I'm known for my t-shirts. I would hope for my Bible teaching, but t-shirts and my earrings. I have friends of mine who are in Read Through the Word, and they say, I just can't wait to see what earrings you've got on that day. And so my students know my love of earrings, so I get earrings from my students all the time, and because I say earrings always fit. You're going to be seeing my Valentine stuff for a while. So I want to look at all of today's reading, and as it continues into I'm going to just go with one verse. I'm going with one verse because I want to explain things. All right, we're going with Exodus 21:1. It says, these are the regulations you must present to Israel. All right, so this is after the 10 Commandments. And those of you who like to look up some of my really nerdy lessons, probably in 2021, I did the 10 Commandments and explained how the 10 Commandments are an expression of who God is and His attributes. And so I think we did that 2021. 22. It's 24. I wrote the wrong date in my Bible just now. Let me fix that. 2020. Oh, it's been 3 years. So go back and look at that. And what I want us to look at. So we are with the people of Israel. They are the people of Israel until we get to the book of Joshua. Joshua chapter 4, actually. But right here, we have just been the defining law of the people, the 10 Commandments. Now you're going to see a bunch of laws that might make no sense. I'm here to help. I want you to make them make sense, because this is the argument people will give you about the Bible and about who our God is. And I want you to see that they're not making a sound argument. So all of these regulations. Now, if you look, there are 3 types of law that will show up in the books of law. So the books of law, the Torah, the Pentateuch, is Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. So in those, you will have 3 types of law. You have the civil law, the ceremonial law or ritual, and then you will have moral law. The 10 Commandments are moral law. How you know really strong moral law? Moral law, I can't remember who I was having this discussion with the other day. When you look at moral law, when you look through Leviticus or you see in other books, you will see moral law generally has a penalty of death. If you do something and there's a death penalty for that, then that's typically a moral law. But civil law is just like we would have civil law today. Civil law had to do with the ruling of the people. And you had ritual or ceremonial law, which we're about to go in as we go through the tabernacle. And we'll see all of that. And we'll discuss that in greater detail. So I want you to notice that a lot of these things are civil laws that you're going to see. Because you have, and some of you have been around here long enough, you hear me do this a lot, and I'm going to keep doing it because it's the perspective by which we need to look at the Bible. So, as we have seen, dramatically, we have just watched God take a people who he has formed with the purpose of turning them into a nation that will represent him to all the earth. And he has made them from a family. Remember the end of Genesis, and we take Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and then Jacob's family, and that family of 70 moves down to Egypt, and there we find Joseph again, and everything's good. Then 400 years later, there comes a Pharaoh who knew not Joseph, and we have the bondage and slavery. And now God has raised up a deliverer, Moses, and they are going to go out into the wilderness, and there they will meet with God and learn what it means to be his people. And that starts with the 10 Commandments. Now, you've got to remember 400 years and what has gone on. So, I always do this with my students. It is 2024, so 1624. And for other people in the world, you might have other dates that are, I always think of what we know as the Mayflower. The Mayflower and the Mayflower Compact occurred in 1620 here in the United States. So 400 years ago, that's what was going on. We're right past that. It's a different world. And they had some rules that seem a little odd to us, especially once you get into the Puritans and some laws that they had. And if we were looking at those and we're like, oh, that's weird. Well, they were people and there was a purpose for their settlement. And so those laws that they enacted helped the people to be what they thought of as set apart back 400 years ago now. And depending on where you live in the world, and I hate to be American about it, I'm so sorry, then we can think of many other things going on in the world 400 years ago. So if you think the amount of time that has gone past for these people, and they had no written law, they had no written word. All of this that we know as the books of Moses were going to be written down during, spoiler, there's going to be 400 years of wandering in the desert. Moses will write them down then. They have no written word. They have heard through oral tradition, and they know that they are the people of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and their God is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But now they need to know who he is, because they've been delivered so that they can serve him. And God first sets them down with the 10 Commandments to basically explain this is who he is, and he is holy, so his people are to be holy. And so this is the 10 moral law. It defines who God is. That's what that is. Go watch that lesson. So what the rest of the law does is what people will say, well, your Bible says that you're supposed to be stoned if this happens. That you can't, what kind of God is that tells you can't eat two foods, you can't plant two crops together, or your clothes can't be worn of, well, your God says this and your God says that, and you're like, no. So as we get into, and like this right here, this next section after that one verse I read is where people say, well, the Bible's okay with slavery. No, it's not. God is, what it says is that it is what's going on in the world. This is how it needs to be different where you are. And there's also, they have to be set free. And so that's a whole different law discussion. But the point of this lesson right now is God has a people. Who are these people? These are the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They have been set apart for a purpose. Their purpose is to make God known throughout the world. How are they going to do that? They're going to live in a way that is totally different from all the ites that will surround them. And we will get into that as we go further. They will be led into the land. Right now is Canaan. They will go into Canaan. and then that will later become Israel. But God will give them boundaries for a place. So they are a people with purpose in a place. And their purpose is to make God known. How? By being holy, because he is holy. How will that be shown? So holy means set apart, different from the world around them. So if all the Perizzites and the Hittites and the Moabites and the Edomites and all the ites that we will encounter, we're going to live this way, then God's going to set down some rules for his people that will make them look, live, act totally different from the rest of the world. So that when people come through or they are encountering God's people in this place, they will know they are different. And those people will then ask, why are you different? And they will say, let me tell you about my God. That's the purpose of these rules, to make them different. It is much the story of us now. We're supposed to be different, set apart, so that when bad things happen to us, let's look at Job. When those things we encounter those, and we do not look like the rest of the world, people will come to us and say, why are you different? Why are you not freaking out about everything? Why are you so different? And we can say, let me tell you about Jesus. It's the whole point. It's the whole point of all of this. So keep that in mind as you read through this, that God has a purpose for his people. And we'll see you next time on Read Through the Word.